Mm. So we dedicate this presentation to His Divine Grace Abhay Charanara Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Om Ajnanaatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajadam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padahan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Surato Pangur Mama Manda Matirkati Matsarvasva Padam Bojo Radha Madana Mohana Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpa Drumada Srimad Ratnagara Simhasanausto Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Prashtali Bihi Sevyamano Smarami Shri Van Rasa Rasarambi Vamsivata Statastitaha Karshan Venu Swanair Gopir Gopinata Shri Stunaha Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vigna Vinasha Narasimhaiti Namine Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langaitim Girim Yatkripa Tamaham Vande Sri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Mahadavam Sri Chaitanya Mishwaram Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayo Diraye Nasta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Nigamakal-pataror-galitam phalam sukhamkaramrita-dhrava-samyutam vibata bhagavatam rasam alayam muhuraho rasika bhuvi bhavakaha. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Nama Pankajanabhaya Nama Pankajamaline Nama Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajangre. Hare Krishna, everybody. So welcome to our Srimad Bhagavatam session. So we will continue with chapter 5. So Narada's instructions on Srimad Bhagavatam for Vyasadeva. So today we are doing part 2. This is our 15th session. Before we continue, I was thinking it will be useful, as usual, if we remember back what we covered in the previous session, in the first part of this chapter 5. So let's do a bit of recap. So in our recap, if you remember, the chapter started by Deva Rishi inquiring about Vipra Rishi's sadness or despondency. So Deva Rishi is Narada, the Rishi amongst the Devatas, and he is asking Vipra Rishi, who is Vyasadeva, the Rishi amongst the Brahmanas. Vipra means Brahmanas, the learned Brahmanas. So when he's asking, oh, you are such a learned Brahmana, you are wonderful, you are great. He gave all kinds of glorification. Then he said, after doing so much, you are despondent. Despondent means a bit sad and hopeless feeling, that kind of sadness. So he's asking, what is the cause of your dissatisfaction? So it cannot be because you don't have jnana, because you are Vyasadeva. You have all knowledge all over the universe. You have it with you. And why this lamentation, sochati? So it usually dissatisfaction arises because of lack of knowledge. So those who have knowledge usually are satisfied because they know what they need to do, what they need to do, what they need to get to achieve their goal. And usually people who have no realized knowledge, even if you have knowledge, satisfaction may be there, but lamentation is very difficult to overcome. So lamentation is usually overcome when we have realized knowledge. So then we can overcome lamentation. But here you can see Vyasadeva is lamenting. So it cannot be because he did not have realized knowledge, because we understand Vyasadeva is not an ordinary person. He is actually the Supreme Lord's, partial incarnation. He is a Sakyavesh avatar, an empowered, localized incarnation. Right? So having the potency of the Lord, the literary potency of the Lord. So then what could be the reason? So therefore, Narada continues, Tatapi Jignyasha Ashitam Mahat Adbhuta Bharatam Paribramitam. So he's saying, you have so much of knowledge. It's not because you don't have. You have, in fact, with your knowledge, you have elaborated so much. What did Vyasadeva do? Vyasadeva had compiled all the Vedic literatures, which contains all the knowledge in the universe. So that is what he did. He compiled it. And after compiling it, he thought, but you see, Kali Yuga is coming, and not everybody may be very intelligent. So, and there is definitely not going to be many Brahmanas, because Kali, in the age of Kali, everybody is born Shudra. Nobody is, very few people are qualified. And as it goes on, it's going to get worse. So if Brahmanas are not there, then the Vedas become inaccessible, because Vedas can only be studied and understood and explained by Brahmanas. People who are not Brahmanas are forbidden from touching the Vedas. That is the injunction given by the Vedas in the scriptures. So then Vyasadeva thought, okay, now, and on top of that, the Vedas can be misinterpreted. So therefore, he thought, I will prepare the Puranas and the Itihasas, so people can get attracted and they can learn. So then he developed his Mahabharata. The Mahabharata contained all of the essence of the Vedas. Basically, whatever that he is describing in the Vedas is contained in the Mahabharata. So it's called Mahat Adbhutam Bharatam, the great and wonderful Mahabharata. So like that, he gave a lot of information, but still he wasn't satisfied, right? And inside the Mahabharata, in fact, he even gave the information about understanding Brahman. So all this information is in there, but yet he wasn't satisfied. So then what happened? After that, Vyasadeva humbly invites Sri Narada's critical opinion. So Vyasadeva is very humble. He is he takes the position of a disciple of Sri Narada. So Narada Muni appears, right? And he takes immediately a humble position. He invites Narada Muni, please you tell me what is my mistake, what is my fault. Find out what is wrong in my work and tell me why I am despondent. So it's very similar to how Arjuna was also asking the same question to Krishna during the Mahabharata war. So remember, he draws the chariot and then he says, I am now fully, so much of lamentation. I've overcome by lamentation. I don't know what to do. Indecision. So you please tell me what is best for me, right? We have that famous verse, Karpanya Josho Pahata Svabhavaha. Right? So there he surrenders to Krishna and he invites Krishna, please, you tell me what is best for me because I am overcome by you. So Vyasadeva, though but Vyasadeva is not really overcome by illusion. This is the Leela he is performing. Vyasadeva being in the position of the Supreme Lord's incarnation, he is showing as an example how one should take Diksha, one should accept a guru, and how one should pose critical questions. One should invite the guru to not to flatter him, right? That's not the position of the guru. The guru is not to flatter the disciple. Oh, you're so wonderful. Oh, you're so nice. Oh, you're so learned. No, no. The disciple should act like a fool in front of the guru, and he should not purposely act like a fool, but he should be, that doesn't mean that he does foolish things. It means that he understands that in front of my guru, I am nothing but a fool. So I will just accept whatever my guru says. I will pose intelligent questions. I will pose questions so that I can be enlightened. So that is the idea. So in the same way, Vyasadeva is showing us the example. He is inviting Narada's critical opinion, right? So he's asking, what is the root cause of my sadness, of my despondency? Moolam. Moolam means root, right? What is the root cause? Avyaktam. Moolam, the root cause of me feeling not satisfied, of me feeling lamentation. Why? And over there in that verse also, we also heard about the qualifications of the guru, right? Narada, he didn't just ask anyone. He asked Narada, what is my fault, right? And then he addresses Narada with all the qualifications of Narada. So he addresses Narada, you are Deva Rishi, and you are the guru of the Devatas, right? The Rishis, sorry, not guru of the Devatas, the Rishi, the learned personality amongst the Devatas. So very great position, not ordinary, is very unique. And you are Veda Samasta Guyam. All the secrets of the universe, all the secret knowledge, Veda Guyam. Veda means knowledge, Guya means secret. All the secret knowledge of the universe, Samasta, you know. So, and that is true. Narada knows it. And you are like the sun. Ravi Eva Trilokim. Ravi means the sun. And Ravi Eva, just like the sun that travels the three planetary systems, right? Bhur, Bhuva, and Swargaloka. In the same way, you have also traveled the entire planetary systems from the topmost to all corners of the universe. So you have seen everything within the universe, right? So you know all secret knowledge. You have traveled everywhere and you have seen everything. And you are Vayu Eva, just like the wind, Vayu, right? Like the wind, you are all pervading everywhere, and you can see inside the heart because the wind enters into our heart, right? Our soul is kept afloat by 5 types of air. Upana, prana, I can't remember all the other names, but there are 5 types of air which keep the soul afloat. So it goes through within our system. So in the same way, just like the wind, just like the air, you permeate every living entity and you understand what is in their heart. So this is the special abilities of Narada. You can understand what's in their heart. So Narada also represents the Guru. The Guru can also understand what is within all our hearts by Krishna's grace. Because Krishna is Paramatma, he can reveal to the Guru. So therefore, Atma Shakshi, just like the Paramatma, you are Atma Shakshi, Vyasadeva tells to Narada. Right? And you are Agadha Bodham. You are the man of unlimited knowledge. Unlimited knowledge is residing within you. So in this way, he is addressing his Guru, Narada. And on top of that, you are the son of Atma Baba. You are the son of that person who is self-born. That means born without a parent, right? Only one coming from the lotus. He is the son of Brahma, right? So like that. And most importantly, all these things are material qualification only. Here, most importantly, you are a devotee. Devotee of who? Devotee of Purusha Purana. That supreme enjoyer, Purusha, who is the oldest, the original Purana. So Purusha Purana, original, oldest, supreme enjoyer. You are that person's devotee. And you are also the devotee of Para Avara Isha. That controller, Isha means controller, who controls all spiritual, para and avara, material, spiritual and material planets and energies. So you are the devotee of that person who controls both the spiritual and material energies. And you are Manasaiva Vishwam Srijati Avati. So you know what is in the heart or in the mind of all created beings within the universe. So you know that. And you are Gunair Asanga. Importantly, you are untouched by the 3 modes of material nature. You are never overcome by the 3 modes of material nature. You're completely aloof. So you don't have the faults of the 3 modes of material nature. So this is the nature of the Guru, who represents the devotee of such a personality. And that's the qualifications of the Guru. So we can understand a bit, right? And at the same time, the qualification of the disciple is also understood. Here, Narada will tell to Vyasadeva, you are Brahmani. So you have the qualifications of a Brahmana, Brahminical nature, right? And you have not only Brahminical nature, you are beyond, you are searching for the Brahman, you're dedicated towards Brahman, or in other words, to the eternal truth. So your dedication is towards that. You're not dedicated, or your focus or your goal or your objective is not other things, right? You're dedicated towards the ultimate truth. And you are Dharmata. So you are very much righteous, and you are Vrate. So Dharmata means he's dedicated in righteous activity, pious activity, and Vrate means he is dedicated in performing austerities. So just like the disciple takes initiation. So the moment he takes initiation, that means he's dedicated towards the supreme truth. His main goal of life is that, right? And what does he do for that? He chants, right? He follows a process. He follows a sadhana. So that is called Brahmani. And Dharmata means he performs, there are certain strictures which he follows. Like for example, his devotees, we follow the 4 regulative principles, isn't it? No meat eating. So we uphold truthfulness, we uphold cleanliness, we uphold mercy, right? We uphold austerity. So these are the 4 pillars of Dharma, which we also do. So the initiated devotees, they uphold all these things. And Vrate also, some austerities which we perform. So these austerities are like, Ekadasi, eating only prasadam, trying to chant fixed amount of rounds daily. So these kind of things. So this is the qualification of a disciple. So we can understand. So after that, Narada, after discussing these points clearly, Narada begins to instruct Srila Vyasadeva. So that is what were the instructions? So Narada's first instruction was, he tells, "Oh Vyasadeva, your problem is you have overemphasized on karma kanda, on material activities, material fruitive activities. You have written your Vedas, you have written so many things, you have put your Mahabharata, but most of the content is basically talking about the 4 Purusha Arthas, the Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha, about religiosity, about how to make economic gains, right, in a proper way, and how to attain your desires in a legal, proper way. And finally, when you are frustrated, how to become free from material entanglement, but only for the sake of getting free, not for the sake of becoming fully established in the real dharma of the soul. So these are the 4 Purusha Arthas, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. We talked about it previously. So you overemphasize this already. So, and you neglected the Amalam Vasudevasya Mahima. You neglected to fully glorify Mahima, to fully glorify the spotless glories of Vasudeva. Amalam means spotless, not covered by the 3 modes of nature. Every other work by Srila Vyasadeva is covered by the 3 modes of nature, because he is talking about the Purusha Arthas, right? But therefore, Narada is saying, you did not create a pure scripture. Every other scripture which you wrote is somewhat mixed, right? Of course, in Mahabharata is mixed, but the one thing within Mahabharata which is transcendental, which is pure, which is Bhagavad Gita, is very small. Mahabharata is 100,000 verses. And how many verses is Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavad Gita is only 700. So 700 verses divide by 100,000 verses. You can imagine the ratio. And then you times by 100 to get the percentage. Very, very small percentage. So therefore, you have neglected. And in Bhagavad Gita, it's very little glorification. In fact, the first few parts we talked about yoga, and then the later part we talked about jnana. So only the 6 chapters in between is glorification of devotional service. So it's not much, very little. So therefore, you are guilty of neglecting the spotless glorification of Vasudeva. And you are guilty of propagating Keelam Darshanam. So you have been giving a philosophy, you have been giving an explanation of the philosophy of lower philosophy, not the highest philosophy. You have been giving lower philosophies. Lower philosophies like the Artha, like Dharma, mundane morality, economic development, Varnashram. So all these things are there, is important, yes, necessary, but it's not the main goal. These are all lower things compared to the Dharma of the soul and the glory of Vasudeva. That you did not specify. And therefore, all that you have created is fit for crows only. So crow-like mentality, people of crow-like mentality. Vaya yasam tirtam. Vaya yasa means crow. So tirtha means the place where the crows like to gather and like to congregate. So most of the scriptures that you have made is for that kind of people. It's mundane. It's not transcendental. So Naatma paritusyati. Therefore, the result is there any wonder that the result is you don't have satisfaction of the soul? Paritusyati, perfect tusyati, perfect satisfaction of Atma, the soul, is not there. Na Atma paritusyati. You don't have it. because you didn't describe Vasudevasya Mahima. So therefore, then he started telling, instead, there are two types of literature. One is the literature which is fit for crows, right? Crow-like mentality. Why crow? Because the crows like to go for garbage. They don't go for higher things, right? So, but the opposite of that is the swan. The swan likes to associate amongst lotuses, right? In beautiful lotus-like ponds, right? So it knows how to go for the most important thing. So therefore, in other words, he's saying you didn't present transcendental literature. So transcendental, even though imperfectly composed. So the Narada says, such literatures which are transcendental. What is transcendental literature? Those literatures which glorify Vasudeva Mahima, right? Amalam Vasudeva Mahima, the spotless glories of Vasudeva. These literatures, even if they are imperfectly composed, they are still wonderful. They are still accepted by saintly people. So therefore, even an imperfect glorification of Krishna is still accepted as much more better compared to even mundane Vedic passages, right? So that is the conclusion of saintly personalities. That is Narada Muni's conclusion. And it gives you eternal benefits, whereas the crow-like literatures gives you temporary benefit only. What we get will go in our next life. It's gone. Whereas this literature gives eternal benefit, and it gives you Atma Paritusyati. So perfect satisfaction of the soul, Atma. And it can change the world. It can bring revolution. We all want revolution. Oh, the world is terrible. Oh, the country is terrible. The government is terrible. Oh, my family members are not so wonderful. Oh, myself, I'm not so wonderful. How do I change? So we want to change the world. We want to change the country. We want to change our family. We want to change ourselves. It begins with ourselves, right? So, and at the same time, it's not only with ourselves, we can propagate the same message to everyone. And how do we change the world? By propagating the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, by reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, by reading ourselves Srimad Bhagavatam and understanding it, and by giving it to others. So it brings revolution to impious lives. So makes impious life pious, redirects misguided civilization. Very powerful. It can change the world. It can change the mentality. Why it can change the world? Because it can change the mentality of the people in the world. Then automatically the world is changed. You don't have to do extra effort. When the population becomes more pious, more spiritually progressive, then the world will automatically become wonderful. Just like during the time of Lord Ramachandra, during the time of Yudhishthira Maharaj, when the world was as wonderful as Vaikunta. So anyway, these were the topics which we covered previously. So I hope that it brings back our remembrance of what we covered. So now continuing, right? So let's see, it's 8:30. So continuing, Narada Muni goes on. So first he gave a summary. Whatever we talked about earlier was a summary. Then he goes in further detail about the real problem, and he gives a solution. So he says, "Oh Vyasadev, your vision is amoga drik," right? That means pure, perfect seer. You are able to see perfectly the past, present, and future. You have clear vision of what is the real goal of life, what is the right objective. You are not illusioned. So this is what he's saying. You are amoga drik, right? Oops, sorry. Okay, now man. And then he says, your good fame is suchi. Your good fame, your popularity is pure. There is no negative blemish. Everything about you is wonderful, right? You are known in that way. You are firm in Dhrita Vrataha. So remember these points which we talked about earlier, the qualification of the disciple and also the qualification of Vyasadeva to present scripture. So Dhrita Vrataha, he is firmly fixed in spiritual qualities, great determination in spiritual qualities. Situated in Satya Rataha, having taken the vow of truthfulness. So great austerities is performing, and he has taken the vow of truthfulness, and his fame is pure, and he has clear vision. So this is the personality, and on top of that, he's not an ordinary person. He is an incarnation of the Supreme Lord. Such are the persons who are fit to write scripture. So scripture is not ordinary people who can just simply, manufacture their own religion. So it has to come from God, and they have to have these qualities, the personalities who are empowered by God. They have to have such qualities. Therefore, thus, you can think of the pastimes of the Lord in Samadhi for the liberation of the people in general from material bondage. So Narada Muni is telling Vyasadeva, because you have all these good qualities, right? You are qualified to think in Samadhi, in meditation, all the pastimes of the Lord. It will come to you. The Lord, how will it come? Because Lord says, right, in Bhagavad Gita, I am situated in the heart, and from the heart I will reveal knowledge to you, right? He says that. So in that way, this knowledge will be revealed. So therefore, Vyasadeva will understand the full pastimes. It will come from him, from within. And as he is meditating on these pastimes of the Lord, Narada Muni is telling, please write about these pastimes. Please, expound. Go and tell everybody about these pastimes of the Lord. Why? Because these pastimes of the Lord is what is needed for the liberation of the people in general from all material bondage. So simply hearing the pastimes of the Lord, one can become free from the material bondage. So this is the solution in brief. Narada Muni is giving the solution to Vyasadev's problem, right? And he also talks about the solution provider. This solution must come from the perfect person, from the right person. It cannot come from any Tom, Dick, and Harry who creates his own religion, right? It has to come from people, from the personality of such good quality. So the solution provider is Vyasadeva, of course, empowered by with the blessings of of Narada Muni as the Guru. So Vyasadeva, though he is God himself, right? He is playing the role of a disciple of Narada Muni. He is showing the way by which all knowledge can be understood in this material creation. So it has to be coming from the disciplic succession. One has to take up the disciplic succession. One has to take up a guru. So Narada Muni is the guru. So he shows the example. Even if he is God, he still accepts a guru. When Krishna came, he also accepted Sandipani Muni as a guru. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, he also accepted, right, Ishwara Puri as the guru. When Lord Ramachandra came, he also accepted Vashishta and Vishwamitra as the guru. So therefore, we also should think, if we are serious, because spiritual life begins with the initiation, with the disciplic succession, with acceptance of the guru. So then Narada Muni is saying, whatever you desire to describe that is separate in vision from the Lord. So previously, all this while, you have talked about many other things like the Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, and all these other things which you have talked about. They are supplementary only. They are not in the main line of what the Lord wants, right? So these other things which you have described, they simply react with different forms, names, and results, simply to agitate the mind only. So all these Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, all these things, they have different names, different results, different forms, right? In Dharma, in the purpose of Dharma, one worships many devatas, right? Demigod worship. So all this is because they are hankering for something. So because they're hankering for something, they want quick result. So they take to the worship of the devatas. And they perform various Vedic sacrifices and all that simply to get what they want. But in the end, all of these will result only in agitation of the mind. It's not going to give any auspicious result. So the word abhadram is used, right? Not auspicious. Just like the wind agitates a boat which has no resting place. So therefore, Narada Muni is saying, all that you have done is not satisfying the Atma. So that's the fault. So, and Narada Muni will continue, right? The jana, the people are naturally inclined to enjoy. Now, the people in this world, everybody, everyone, from the baby to the old man and the old lady, everyone wants to enjoy something. Different things. The type of what they want to enjoy changes according to their age, according to their situation, but everybody wants to enjoy something. So that's their natural tendency. So that's why we came into this material world in the first place, because we want to enjoy the object of the senses. We are all into sense gratification. We want to enjoy taste. We want to enjoy watching things which we like to watch. The ears like to hear sweet music or sweet words in glorification, right? And the tongue wants to taste wonderful things, even up to the old age, right? You know, there's one story, people say as they grow older, they may not desire so much of sense gratification. Actually, it's not true. There was once a story about what do you call, a criminal. This is a king and in a kingdom. So there was a criminal, and the criminal was sentenced to imprisonment and then death sentence at the end of the imprisonment. So, and this kingdom, the king, he sentenced him to the jail, the criminal, and the criminal stayed there for a long time. And as he was young, and then he slowly grew old, and then eventually grew much older. And then there was this question raised in the court. The minister and the king were arguing. The minister was saying, sense gratification reduces as you grow old. Then the minister, who was wiser than the king, he said, no, that is not true. It doesn't reduce. It remains the same only. It's just that people become more expert in hiding it. That's all. But it remains the same, as strong. That's why you sometimes see even 70-year-old people, 80-year-old people, they have wives, very young wives, or that kind of thing going on. So, but anyway, this conversation was going on. The king didn't want to believe. Then the minister told the king, okay, you have a prisoner, right? You have prisoners inside. Find out, I will tell you one prisoner who is going to die soon. So to prove my point, I want you to go and visit this prisoner and tell the prisoner before you enter that I am coming here to remove your punishment. So before you open the door and enter, from outside the door, you must tell the prisoner, I am here coming to remove your punishment. But there's one condition, you must go with your daughter. So the king had a very beautiful princess, very beautiful daughter, very, very beautiful. And the minister said, you must both of you enter together into the dungeon, into the cell when you see the prisoner. So the king said, okay, fine, I will do. And then he told the king, when you go into the cell, please watch carefully the eyes of the prisoner. So then the king, he also did the same. He brought his wife, he went into the dungeon, and then outside the door of the dungeon, he announced loudly to the prisoner, oh prisoner, I am going to enter inside, and because there's a special holiday or something in the kingdom, I am giving amnesty. That means I am forgiving your crime. So I'm going to open the door and I'm going to come in now. So the prisoner also said, oh yes, please, thank you, please come in. So then the door was opened and both the king and the daughter entered together. Now this prisoner is going to die. And the only thing that saved him was supposed to be this king's promise. Imagine if you're going to die and the only voice of promise to save you was this king's voice, right? That was the situation. But still, when they entered together, because both entered together, the king and the daughter entered together, but the prisoner, the first thing that his eyes went to was towards the daughter, the princess. The eyes naturally was attracted to the princess first, even though the princess was not the one who was going to save him. His life was in jeopardy, and the one who is saving his life is the king, but his eyes went towards the princess first. And then the king saw how his eyes went to the princess first, and then he understood, yes, my minister is very wise. Even up to old age, sense gratification never reduces. It remains as strong as ever, burning like fire. So anyway, so that's the point. The point here is the people of the world, they are naturally inclined to enjoy. So then Narada is saying, and you have encouraged them in that way, in the name of Dharma. You have encouraged the people to go further looking for enjoyment, because you have given your Vedas, you have given Dharma Shastra, you have given Artha Shastra, you have given Kama Shastra. So all these Shastras, you have given ways, performing sacrifices, worship of various devatas, so that they can pursue their enjoyment. So you have encouraged them in that way. So this is very important, because all these words, these verses, show a very important point about the Vedic scriptures. People who never read Bhagavatam will not understand these points, because they don't know. They think whatever that is in the other Vedic scriptures are the ultimate. So that's why we have Srimad Bhagavatam is the key to understanding all the entire Vedic scriptures. So Narada Muni is telling, you have encouraged them in that way, O Vyasadev, in the name of Dharma, to naturally work towards their enjoyment. So Narada says, this is condemned, Jugupsitam, this is condemnable, because later he will tell why. That is not what is supposed to do, right? And is quite unreasonable, Vyatikrama. You encouraging the people in general to move towards sense gratification in the name of religion, right? Oh, Father in heaven, please give me my daily bread. Oh, Durga Devi, please give me a good husband. Oh, Shiva, please give me a good wife. Oh, Saraswati, please give me 10 A's or 20 A's or whatever. Oh, so all these things, why? So that they can get their desires. They can achieve their desires. That is fine. At least they're going through some pious process rather than doing something wrong, cheating and things like that. But you are encouraging people to think that this is the goal of religion. The purpose of religion is to give you your desires, what you want. So that is wrong. That is the problem. So that is the fault, right? So you have given them cheating religion, right? Remember Kaitaba Dharma from the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, verses chapter 1, verse 1, 2, and 3, right? We talked about Kaitaba Dharma, cheating religion. So these are called cheating religion. Religion which only works towards Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. That is not the real purpose of religion. So Narada is saying, because they are guided, the people in general are guided under your instructions in the name of the Vedic scriptures, they will accept such activities such as Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha in the name of religion, and will hardly care for prohibitions. They will be only interested in enjoying. They will hardly follow the things which they are not supposed to do, right? For example, right, they should follow ahimsa. They should not harm living creatures, right? But in the Vedas, there are some sacrifices of animal sacrifices given here and there in order to attain certain things, right? Which is in the mode of passion and all, right? But there are prohibitions given in those sacrifices. Only a Brahmana can perform these sacrifices, and these sacrifices are only to be done outside Kali Yuga. That means they are forbidden in Kali Yuga. But people will conveniently ignore that prohibition. Oh, it's only for Kali Yuga. It's not meant for Kali Yuga. That one they will ignore, but they will take everything else which they want for their own motivated interpretation, because they want to get what they want. So they close one eye to certain rules and they open their eye to other things which they are favorable. So this kind of behavior is definitely going to be there in Kali Yuga, where people like to follow what they like to follow, and the same rules, which certain parts which they don't like to follow, they will conveniently ignore. So that's what's going to happen. And therefore, they will hardly care for prohibitions. So this is the fault. So therefore, here he is condemning his work all this while that you have done. So then Narada Muni continues, right? So, but before he continues, let's understand a bit. So people in general, now Vyasadeva might argue by saying, no, you see, I actually meant well. I wrote these scriptures for a purpose, right? It's not that I wanted to guide them wrongly, right? What is that purpose? Now, you see, when there's a child, just like in this picture, and the child is sick, the child needs to take medicine. Now, usually children don't like to take medicine because the nature of medicine is usually it tastes bad, bitter, not so nice, and things like that, right? So they don't like, and it's very difficult to push the medicine into the child's mouth, even though that medicine is good for that child, that it's necessary for the child. It may save the child's life, but still the child is so foolish or so in Maya that he's not interested in accepting that medicine. And what is the nature of the child? The child is generally interested only in sense gratification. His mind is revolving along sense gratification. Oh, I want to eat this lollipop. I want to eat this sweet. I want to eat that. I want to enjoy. But give the child medicine for his own good, he doesn't want. So Vyasadeva is telling, in the same way, that's what I did. Because the people in general, they don't like to accept things which is good for them. They want to only go towards sense gratification. So if I presented sense control, if I presented the essence of scripture, then people will not be interested to even look at it. They will not even open the scripture. They will simply throw it away. Oh, this is boring, this is dull, forget about this. So that is why, in order to tempt the child to eat the medicine, right? What will we do if we want to get the child to eat the medicine? We will first we will give the candy to the child, and then we say, okay, you want this candy, you please take this medicine. Then when you eat the candy, you first let me give the medicine, then you can take the candy. So we bribe the child. So some kind of bribery is going on. Or sometimes we mix the medicine with some sugar, or we mix it with some juice or something like that to make it, to cover the taste. It's still bitter, but at least the child thinks, oh, it looks very attractive. So then, oh, it smells very nice. Maybe I will drink it and see. So that's why, nowadays, children's medicine, like the Panadol and all that, it's terribly heavily flavored and heavily sugared, lots of sugar inside. So this kind of thing, so that the children can take it. So Vyasadeva may say, that's why I wrote the Mahabharata. That's why I wrote the Vedas, right? Because by giving them dharma, artha, kama, moksha, by sense gratification, I am attracting them into reading the scripture in the first place. Otherwise, they won't even read the scripture. So just to attract them, I have given sense gratification, I've shown the lollipop in the Vedas, and as they are searching for the lollipop in the Vedas, they may come across 1 or 2 chapters of spiritual realization. Accidentally, they may read it, and it will stick in their brain somewhere. And then after that, they will continue looking for their lollipop in the Vedas, right? But still, because they have accidentally read it, it's stuck somewhere. And one day, when they are going through some difficulty, when some miserable situation is going through, that time they may remember this instruction, and they may open more detail, and find out further. So that is the strategy Vyasadeva did, and why he wrote the Vedas in the way he wrote them. So actually the Vedas are meant for all types of people, right? Not everybody is in that same level, so it's meant for all types of people. So therefore, that was his strategy. But his mistake was, he only focused on that strategy. He neglected those who are serious. And also for another reason. Later we will tell the other reason. So Prabhupada gives lots, actually this verses, chapter 5, verse 12 to verse 22, there are very nice purports by Srila Prabhupada. Almost every verse, there are very, very nice purports. So I highly recommend, if you have time, just verses 12 to 22, please go through the purports. I'm not able to cover all the purports here because we don't have time. I've tried to catch a few, but really there are very, very nice purports. As I was reading them, I was thinking, I wish I could talk about this. No, I can't, I don't have time. So, but anyway, please do read it. So Prabhupada, in the Vedas, it is distinctly said. So Prabhupada is explaining. The Vedas is distinctly said that perfection of life is never to be attained by voluminous work, or by accumulation of wealth, or even by increasing the population. So in the Vedas, though they talk so much about sense gratification, about dharma, artha, kama, and all that, right? Still, there are some passages here and there which clearly say that if you are looking for perfection of life, right? Not sense gratification, perfection of life, it can never be attained. This perfection of life can never be attained by sense gratification path. In other words, by doing work, so much of work in order to collect wealth. So a lot of dharma done simply for the purpose of collecting artha, wealth, so that they can have sensual gratification, karma. So all these three things can never give you perfection of life. It's mentioned in the Vedas. And what can give you perfection of life? Renunciation. That can give you perfection of life. But people will not be interested, just like this girl. She won't be interested in taking that medicine, right? So men with materialistic tendencies are more attracted to the politics, economics, and philanthropic activities mentioned in the Mahabharata than to the principal topic, namely the Bhagavad Gita. So 100,000 verses of the Mahabharata, most of it will be dedicated to understanding politics, economics, a lot of things we can learn. Mahabharata is the essence of the Vedas. So a lot of information we can understand and use to improve our life, material life, right? How to understand dharma, how to understand economic principles, all these things are there in the Mahabharata. 100,000 verses are there. So materialistic people will be attracted to all of these. And inside the Mahabharata, inserted 700 verses of the Bhagavad Gita, right? Not many people will take that very seriously. So that's the problem. So therefore, sometimes we need to sugarcoat it and inject that sugar-coated medicine into the child. Then the child may accept. So that was Vyasadev's strategy. So Prabhupada is saying, this compromising spirit of Vyasadeva, how Vyasadeva has mixed together a lot of sweet lollipop with a little bit of medicine. So he has compromised it. He has put a lot of dharma, artha, materialistic, fruitive activities with a little bit of transcendental knowledge. So this compromising spirit of Vyasadeva is directly condemned by Narada. So Narada is saying, no, This, you are misguiding people. People will misunderstand. They will think that this is the goal of life, right? They will hardly put much emphasis on the real essence of religion. So Narada, who advises him instead to directly proclaim that the prime necessity of human life is to realize one's eternal relation with the Lord and thus surrender unto him without delay. So Narada Muni is saying, no, you must be more direct. You must give a direct exposition, right? So therefore, Narada Muni continues. He says, the Supreme Lord is Vibho Ananta Parasya. He is extremely great. He is unlimited qualities, right? So many unlimited qualities. Therefore, this kind of understanding of the Supreme Lord usually can only be understood by the Vichakshanaha. The Vichakshanaha are those who are very expert. The very expert can understand this nature of the Supreme Lord. And who is Nivrita Sukham? That means the person who is retired from material activities, retired from taking the goal, retired from sense gratification. That means he's now turning towards renunciation. So the expert person who is renounced, such a person can understand the Supreme Lord who is Vibho, of unlimited qualities. Such a person deserves arhati, deserves to understand this knowledge of spiritual values. This is the type of person. So in other words, someone who is too attached to material sense gratification cannot understand the Supreme Lord. This message is also there in the Bhagavad Gita. Bhogeshwarya Prasad, Bhogeshwarya Bhogeshwarya Bhoga Aishwarya Prasanam Taya Paharta Chetasam. This is chapter 2. So Krishna is saying, one who is attached too much to sense gratification, Bhoga and Aishwarya, to opulence, to such a person, this determination to seek this transcendental knowledge will not take place in his heart. So, same message Narada is telling, right? You yourself has mentioned that in the Bhagavad Gita, right? So it's true. One who is expert and one who is renounced only can understand the Supreme Lord. So, and this is also repeated also in the Bhagavad Gita and other places. Several places is there, right? In fact, there's one place in chapter 7 verse 3, I think. Manusyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam veti tatvataha. So he's saying, among so many people, one person may be interested in self-realization, in perfection. And among such people who are interested, there may be, let's say, thousands of people who may be interested in self-realization. Only one will know me in truth. So very rare. So in fact, in 7:19 also Gita, Krishna says, after many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. So very difficult. Very few people will really understand the goal of life. According to, all the more so because of the way you have written your Vedas. You have so much given emphasis to sense gratification. Very few people will be interested in understanding self-realization. So what's the solution? What's the solution? How to solve this problem? Therefore, Narada says, Narada is very compassionate. And, you know, the Lord is compassionate, but the devotee of the Lord is even more compassionate. So the Lord, he didn't want to interfere in the free will of the jiva. The Lord didn't want to interfere in the free will. Oh, the jiva says, I don't want you, Krishna. I want to go to the material world. I want to enjoy separately from you. I'm interested only in my enjoyment. I'm not bothered about your devotional service or whatever it is. So Then the Lord says, okay, never mind. So I will not talk to you about these matters, right? I will instead give you all that you need to enjoy in this material world. Therefore, I give you the Bhagavad, I give you the entire Vedas. I talk to you about Dharma, Artha, Kama, and all these things. And if you want to be free, if you are suffering and you want to be escape from suffering, I give you moksha knowledge also. But I'm not giving you devotional service. I won't tell you about how to come to me because you're not interested. But because I want you to still come back to me, right? Here and there, I may give you a few information. So he did put some information, right? In Bhagavad Gita, there is information. In the Vishnu Purana, in the Padma Purana, some information are there, but still very little, not enough. But the devotee of the Lord is even more merciful. He directly wants all the people in this world to come back to Krishna. And then he is now giving this idea to Vyasadeva. All right. So therefore, those who are not so well situated, now people, not everyone is expert, not everyone is inclined towards renunciation. Everybody is in the enjoying spirit. What about these people? How can we save them? So therefore, Narada is saying, therefore, those who are not so well situated, right, due to material attachment, that's all of us, right? We are all materially very attached, right? They should be shown the ways of transcendental realization by your goodness. So you need to give them, these people who are not renounced, who are not even interested in self-realization, who are just interested in material things. There is a more powerful way. Instead of sugar-coating your medicine, instead of giving them a medicine, a bitter medicine which is sugar-coated, and forcing them to and tricking them to eat it, it's not going to be very effective because the sugar is going to overpower the potency of the medicine, which is so little, right? Instead, I give you a different strategy. Narada is telling, instead you should give a different strategy. What is that strategy? Narada is saying, you should show them the way of transcendental realization through descriptions of the transcendental activities of the Supreme Lord. This is the solution. Now, these descriptions of the transcendental activities of the Supreme Lord is not dry matter. It's not like, oh, Brahman realization. It's not that you should renounce everything, or you should give up sense gratification. It's not that you should let go everything, give up your family, go to the forest, stay alone. No, it's not like that. These descriptions of transcendental activities of the Lord. Now, the Lord is known as, right? What is the Lord also known as? He is known as Madhurapati, right? Madhurapati, the Lord of sweetness. Now, these descriptions of the transcendental activities of the Lord, they are just like the Lord. The descriptions, the name, fame, glory, pastimes, descriptions of the Lord are exactly having the same quality as the Lord. They are eternal, they are transcendental, they are not covered by the three modes of nature, and they are sweet, Madhura. So you don't, the medicine itself is sweet. You don't have to take a bitter medicine and cover it with the artificial white sugar of material sense gratification, which will cause you diabetes in the long run, in the name of healing them. You don't have to give them this kind of bitter medicine covered with artificial sugar. Instead, you can give them natural transcendental medicine, which is naturally super, super sweet, which cannot cause you any problem. So that is the transcendental descriptions of the glories of the Supreme Lord. This is the solution. So therefore, and you did not present this, Narada, Vyasadeva. So that's what Narada is saying. So that's the solution. So then Narada continues, one who has forsaken his swadharma to engage in, so one who has forsaken his swadharma. What does that mean? That means there may be people who may not follow their occupational duties. They may not follow the dharma which they are supposed to do. That means there may be people, There may be a parent. What's the dharma of a parent? To take care of the children, right? He may neglect the taking care of the children. He may neglect it completely, right? And what's another dharma? Okay, a dharma of a husband to take care of the wife. He may neglect taking care of the wife. Or what is dharma of the wife? The wife dharma is to take care of the husband. She may neglect taking care of the husband also. So people may neglect their swadharma, right? But if they engage in charanam bhujam harir bhajan, even if they neglect their dharma, if they engage in charanam bhujam hari bhajan, in the bhajan, in the devotional service, bhajana means devotional service of Hari. And who is this Hari? He who has lotus feet, charana ambujam, his feet, lotus feet, engaged in the lotus feet of this Hari. Even if they give up their material activities, they may sometimes fall down while in an immature stage. Because they are immature, they may sometimes fall down. Yet, tatapi, there is no danger of his being unsuccessful. Guaranteed success, no danger. The only question is whether in this lifetime or a different lifetime. But guaranteed success. So this is the solution. He's saying, but on the other hand, a non-devotee, right? That means he is not engaged in Charanam Bhujam Hari Bhajan, but he is fully, perfectly engaged in his Swadharma. He's doing his activities perfectly. He's the best husband. He's the best wife. He's the best child. He's the best teacher. He's the best king. He's the best learned person. He's the best yogi or whatever, right? He may be the best in whatever he's doing, but if he is not engaged in Charanam Bhujam Harir Bhajan, then he does not really gain anything tangible, because whatever he gains is temporary. It will give him wonderful benefits in this life and maybe in the next few lives, but that's it. After that, it will run out, finish. It's not eternal. So in other words, and in view of millions of lifetime, what is the gain of 1 or 2 or 3 lifetimes by being a perfect swadharma, by doing your swadharma perfectly? What is the value of that, right? So therefore, Narada as Muni is saying, in other words, he's saying, you may be a devotee of the Lord, but everything else you're doing is very bad. All your other things you're doing very bad. But yet somehow you are engaged in devotional service of the Lord. You are a million times better than that person who is doing everything perfectly, but he is not a devotee. So a devotee, no matter how imperfect he may be, is always better compared to a non-devotee, he may be very perfect in many other ways. So Narada Muni is telling, right? So such a devotee, why is such a devotee better? Because he is going to attain his goal, guaranteed. He is going to go back to Godhead one day. Whereas that non-devotee is never going to go back unless he takes up Charana Bhujam Harir Bhajan. So it's like, they have a collection of zeros. 0, 0, 0. You're a perfect husband, okay, you have 1 0 there. You have a perfect wife, you have another 0 there. You are a very learned person, okay, you have a 0 there. It's all 0, 0, 0, 0. But if you don't have Krishna consciousness is that 1. So you don't put the 1 in front of the 0. You may have 10 zeros, but what's the value of 10 zeros? 0, right? But if you have just that 1, and you put that 1 in front of that 1 0, you have a 10. It has a value. You put the 1 in front of that 2 0, you have a 100. You have a value, right? So therefore, that's what Narada is saying here. So persons who are actually intelligent and philosophically inclined should endeavor only for that purposeful end. They should only work towards that purpose, right? Even sometimes they let go their swadharma, right? But that's a different point. We will talk about it later. They are not to be condemned. Krishna doesn't say, let go your Swadharma. He tells Arjuna, fight. You do your work, right? Remain in your position. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, stay in your position, and then step by step, take it, right? Do what you are doing, just add Krishna into your life. Do what we are doing, just add devotional service into our life, right? That's the way we start. But even if somebody neglects his Swadharma, but he takes up devotional service, right? Still that person is better, because in the end, he is going to attain Krishna consciousness fully. So therefore, Narada is saying, persons who are actually intelligent, therefore, should endeavor only for this one purpose. What is this one purpose? We mentioned already. Charanam Bhujam Harir Bhajan. They should fully dedicate eventually towards that goal, right? Because that is the real goal. So which is not obtainable. This Charanam Bhujam Harir Bhajan is not obtainable even by wandering from topmost planet down to the lowest planet. Narada Muni should know, because he's Triloka. He has gone, right? Earlier we mentioned, he has been to the topmost Brahma Loka, all the way, all the different planets, right? It's very rare. It's not easy to obtain devotional service. Krishna is very, very careful to who he gives devotional service. So, you know, that's why if we are so fortunate, if we manage to get a guru who can connect us to this wonderful parampara of devotional service in the lineage, going back all the way to Krishna, to Narada Muni, right? Then we are very, very fortunate. We should take up this very, very seriously. We should make this our prime goal in our life. And we should have a plan to year by year increase and become more and more focused in this one goal. So that is what Narada is telling. How to do all these things, right? Because from whatever you have written so far, Narada, Vyasadev, people don't understand this. So therefore, Narada is continuing. As far as happiness derived from sense enjoyment is concerned, it can be obtained automatically in course of time. See, sense enjoyment, you can get it in course of time, because simply by performing devotional service, everything else is automatically fulfilled. Just like in the course of time, we obtain miseries even though we do not desire them. Remember this verse, Martras Parsas tu Kaunteya Sitoshana Sukha Dukkada, right? So happiness and distress comes and goes automatically, just like how the seasons change automatically, right? So we don't have to worry about it. The moment we are born, in fact, the moment we are conceived in the womb, the amount of happiness we have to experience and the amount of misery we have to go through, according to our karma, is already fixed. What changes is only the way we are going to experience it. We may run away from one position to another. We may think that, oh, this is going to give us bad, but it's just going to come in a different way, that's all. So we cannot run away from the amount that we have to experience, the happiness and the distress, not the way it comes. The way it comes, we can change, right? But we may postpone it, but we cannot change. The only thing that can change it is devotional service, which can completely destroy all karma right to the root, right? Other things can only postpone. Astrology, all this what do you call that? Something. The things the astrologers tell us to do, right? All that thing is only shifting the karma here and there, pushing it to this future, or pushing it to a different, or minimizing a little bit, or postponing it to the next life. So it's not, yeah? Parigaram. Okay. Thank you very much. Yes. So these things cannot make a permanent change. So just in the course of time, we obtain miseries even though we do not desire them. So here, the same point which is raised in Gita, Bhagavatam also reiterates the same point. Matras parsas tu kaunteya, you know that point. So Prabhupada here says, the miseries and mixed happiness of all living beings are only of different degree and quality. But no one is free from the miseries of birth, death, old age, and disease. So according to our karma, we will have something better, something less, and it will change, right? Similarly, everyone has his destined happiness also. So this is what I was talking about. The happiness and the misery is fixed in our destiny. No one can get more or less of these things simply by personal endeavors. Even if they are obtained, they can be lost again. Just like the seasons, winter and summer seasons come and go. Nobody looks for misery. We all look for happiness. We do so many things to get happiness, but misery comes along with it, right? We don't look for it, but it comes. So in the same way, vice versa, we don't have to look for happiness also. It will come automatically. Just the way misery comes automatically, happiness will also come automatically. So therefore, Narada is telling, don't need to waste time. Prabhupada also says, one should not therefore waste time with these flimsy things of artha, dharma, kama, moksha. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. No need to waste our time so much. Just do what is necessary, bare minimum, and focus on spiritual activities of devotional service. One should only endeavor to go back to Godhead. Everything else is just to keep that floating. All our material activities should be there to simply keep this main goal floating. That's all, right? It should never eclipse our spiritual life. That should be the mission of everyone's life. So we should, even if you are not at that level, at least we should be convinced that this should be the mission of our life towards devotional service. So then Narada Muni goes on, right? Just two more verses. My dear Vyasa, even though a Mukunda Sevi means a devotee of Mukunda, one who performs devotional service to Mukunda, even though a devotee sometimes falls down somehow or other. So this word is used, somehow or other. Even though a devotee in the path of devotional service may sometimes fall down, he certainly does not undergo the material existence like others, like the other fruitive workers. So even if he falls down, he is never to be seen as a karmi. Because, why? Because, just a moment, Mataji, I'll mute you. Okay, thank you. So this is again the solution. The solution is one should become a Mukunda Sevi, right? Because even if he falls down, his position is still special. What is the position, right? The position is because a person who has once relished the taste of Mukunda Angri. So this person, even if he falls down, because he has once in his life at least tasted the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Mukunda Angri. Angri means the lotus feet of Mukunda. What is that? That means that he has taken part in devotional service. Lotus feet of the Lord is another way of saying devotional service, right? Devotional service is the lotus feet of the Lord. So because that person has tasted and relished even once at least that Mukunda Angri, even if he falls down, he can do nothing but remember that ecstasy again and again and again in his life after life after life. Again, he will remember it. It is never lost. And from that position, he will continue. And then again, he may fall down, but still he may continue again in his next life. Now, why may people fall down? So people fall down because, number one, they don't follow the principles of devotional service carefully. They are negligent of the sadhana. And number three, due to bad association. So like that. And number four, due to aparad. So these are the reasons people may fall down. So, but still they are saved. Still they continue from where they left off. So Prabhupada says, pure devotional service is so spiritually relishable that the devotee becomes automatically uninterested in material enjoyment. So this is how we can see whether we are advancing in our spiritual life, right? One way is our desire for material attachment, our taste for material things becomes lesser and lesser and lesser by the grace of the Lord. So this is what we should aim for. This is what we should pray for when we are doing our chanting, when we are doing our devotional service. We should aim so that we lose taste for material things, and at the same time, we have greater attachment for the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord and his paraphernalia and his devotees. So this comes automatically, even if we don't consciously look for it, simply by this engagement of devotional service. If we are successful, this is the symptom. Just like how a hungry person, when he eats food, automatically he becomes satisfied. Another person doesn't have to tell him, oh, you are now full. The person automatically knows. So if he ate the food. So in the same way, devotional service, if we are successful in doing it correctly and properly, automatically we will know, simply by two symptoms. Our attachment towards Krishna increases, Krishna and his paraphernalia, and our attachment towards material things reduces. So that we can see happening. So Prabhupada says that is the sign of perfection in progressive devotional service. One sign that our taste for material things reduces. So Prabhupada says in Bhagavad Gita, it is also said that such fallen devotees, the same point is also mentioned in Gita, right? In chapter 2. Given a chance to take birth, if a transcendentalist is not successful, what happens to him? Arjuna asks Krishna. And then Krishna says, what will happen? He will take birth in the family of a rich mercantile family, aristocratic family, or he will take birth in the family of a Brahmana or a devotee. So the one who takes birth in the family of a Brahmana or a devotee is more fortunate. So if somebody only practices devotional service for a short period of time, they will take birth in a family of rich people or very well facilities and things like that. But if somebody follows devotional service for a longer period of time, they may take birth in a family of devotees or a family of Brahmanas, in a culture of such family. But Prabhupada says, a devotee in such a position is not as fortunate as one who is chastised by the Lord and put into a position seemingly of helplessness. So very important, very, very powerful statement. Prabhupada is saying that person who is completely without any support other than support of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is put in such a position that he is helpless, that he has only one thing to ask for. He cannot depend on his family, he cannot depend on his wealth, he cannot depend on anything. In other words, he has become akinchana, completely bereft of everything. Therefore, his only source of dependence is now the Lord. So such a devotee who is brought into such a situation is very fortunate, Prabhupada is saying. The devotee who becomes helpless by the will of the Lord is more fortunate than those who are born in good families. So very, very nice point. So therefore, sometimes we see devotees, who are in such a situation where they cry out, like Kunti Devi. Kunti Devi cries out. She has lost her kingdom. She has even lost her children also. The children also became bereft of everything. The Pandavas, they went through so much of misery. So Kunti prays to Krishna, oh Krishna, give me those miseries again and again, because when those miseries are there, I don't have anything to depend on. I cannot depend on my family. I cannot depend on my wealth. I cannot depend on my father. I only depend on you. So because she has realized this point Prabhupada is telling, that such a devotee is fortunate, the most fortunate. That's why she's praying for it. But it takes a very high level of realization, right? So the devotee who becomes helpless by the will of the Lord is more fortunate than those who are born in good families. So we will hear about Queen Kunti in the later chapters of Canto 1. The fallen devotees born in a good family may forget the lotus feet of the Lord. Why? Because Maya is very strong, isn't it? Because they are less fortunate. But the devotee who is put in a forlorn condition, a miserable condition, is more fortunate because he swiftly returns to the lotus feet of the Lord, thinking himself helpless all around. So he depends only in the Lord. So that's why Prabhupada, when his business failed, when he took up sannyas, he became completely dependent on the Lord, right? And his devotional practice magnified many times more in that particular situation. And when he came to America, he was completely dependent on the Lord. So such as, and even the devotees, when they went to Great Britain, when they went to UK, when Prabhupada sent three Grahastha couples, right? Shamasundar and Yamuna and all these people, very young Grahasthas, they didn't know anything. They just went to UK, and just because Prabhupada sent them, somehow or other they survived. They did so many examples. The project in Juhu, how the devotees, American devotees, told to go and live alone in Juhu without water, without sanitary situation. Somehow they did it. In Mayapur, how Mayapur was just a jungle, mosquitoes, lizards, all kinds of things. And they just stayed there in a small shack just by the order of Srila Prabhupada, completely depending on the Lord. So they went through so much of purification. So these are the special prerogatives of these devotees. So therefore, this is the solution, right? The solution, Narada Muni is saying, let me just check the time. Oh, it's 9:30 already. Okay. Bhagavan is himself the cosmos, Viswam, and he's still aloof from it, right? Bhagavan is everything. He is creation, but he is aloof. He is not involved. Though he is everything coming from him, everything is happening because of him, but yet he is detached from it. So this concept of understanding Krishna's unique position, right? Narada Muni is telling Vyasadeva, please explain this. Please explain this nicely. From him only has this Jagat emanated. This entire universe comes from him. In him it rests, and into him it enters after annihilation, right? And you know all about this. I have only given a small synopsis. Now you please elaborate. So, number one, talk about the pastimes of the Lord. Number two, elaborate about his wonderful, great, supreme position, about his creation, how he creates, how he maintains, how he establishes the entire creation, the entire universe, the material energy, the spiritual energy, the science behind all these things. So describe all of these. Both of these things are very powerful. They are sweet. They are able to completely purify even people who are attracted to material things. They will change that person simply by hearing this. So this is what Narada Muni is telling Vyasadeva. So Prabhupada says, for a pure devotee, the conception of Mukunda, okay, actually this part is, I think I will cover it in the next session. We will stop over here. So this is what Narada Muni is telling Vyasadeva. You have so far prioritized on things which are temporary. So please now give the real powerful transcendental medicine, the medicine which is all sweet, the medicine which is wonderful, and that medicine which is the real fruit of what we want. The medicine itself is the fruit. The medicine itself is the fruit which we all want in the end. So please give that medicine. And that is the Srimad Bhagavatam. So that is what Vyasadeva tells, Narada Muni tells Vyasadeva. And this is how Srimad Bhagavatam came to be. So we will talk about that in more detail in the next session. And to give a better explanation, so Narada Muni has given all these points, all these factors. So, you know, when we learn in school, we learn theory, we learn understanding, right? But we cannot really understand fully until we see examples. So then Narada Muni will give the first example. Right after this, he will give himself as an example. He will say, just look at me. Just look at me, how I have become so wonderfully benefited by hearing and chanting this transcendental pastimes of the Lord. So then he will talk about himself. So we will see that in the next session. All right. So we will stop here. It's already 9:30. Thank you very much. Apologies again for the extra time taken. If there are any questions, we can address them.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhu. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna,
Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so if there are no questions, then
Prabhu,
and yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Before I close down, I have a question for you, Prabhu.
Okay.
Prabhu, you're referring to chapter 1, of course, chapter 5, and text 15. It is said that in some Vedic literature, it is recommended that animal slaughtering is allowed. Now, which joker wrote and Buddha have to come and correct it, Prabhu?
Sorry?
Which
Buddha?
Swami or who wrote it in the Vedic that you can sacrifice animals for demigod? You can sacrifice animals for demigod, but Buddha had to come to correct it. Who wrote it? Why somebody must write and why Buddha must, the Supreme Lord have to take reincarnation of Buddha to correct it?
Okay. So that's the thing, because the Vedas, they prescribe animal sacrifice for several reasons. One reason is because they want to benefit the animals. When they kill the animals, they put them in the sacrifice. What will happen is that animal will get a higher body. Straight away, it will go and get a human body, and then it can continue with its human life. It cuts off all the karma. So that was the purpose of the sacrifice. And while doing this, the person who's performing the sacrifice, he also gets some benefit. So, but these sacrifices are to be performed carefully by a qualified Brahmana, and this was done in the earlier Yuga. And the same Vedic scriptures which talk about these sacrifices, they also mention over there that these sacrifices are not allowed in Kali Yuga, because as the yugas progress, truthfulness is cleanliness is destroyed, purity is destroyed, all these things are slowly becoming degraded. So because they know that in Kali Yuga people will misuse this and misunderstand the purpose and take advantage and exploit it, because by sacrificing, then the meat is there, so they want to eat the meat, so they use this as an excuse to eat the meat. So people will do things like this in the name of Vedas, in the name of scriptures. So that's why this is prohibited. And that's also the reason why Narada Muni is telling Vyasadeva, so by you doing this, because in Kali Yuga, people will not follow everything. They will see something and they will reject other things. So they will see that there is fire sacrifice allowed, but they will close their eye to the same verse which says it's not allowed in Kali Yuga. That one they won't accept, but the sacrifice they will accept. So these kind of things will happen. So that's why this is the problem in Kali Yuga. So it happened in Kali Yuga. People did misunderstand, people did misconstrue, they started fire sacrifices and they did all this and they killed a lot of animals. And because of this, religion was being misguided. So the same, because Narada Muni can see the future, he saw this is going to happen, and he's telling Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva also could see the future, but it's all part of the plan. It's all part of the plan of the Lord in Kali Yuga. So therefore, this had to happen, and then the Lord sent the Buddha incarnation, and the Buddha incarnation came to bring everybody away from the Vedic scriptures. You have completely misunderstood, misrealized. So now stop the Vedic scriptures. Come, just follow me. I will tell you what to do. Ahimsa, this is the first thing. So in that way, Buddhism took place. So that's the thing, Prabhu. That's how it happened.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Hare Bo. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna. I'll see you all again after 2 weeks. So please, if you have time, do read the Srimad Bhagavatam, this particular set of verses. Very nice purports by Prabhupada. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you very much.